You're tuned into Life is a Sacred Journey. Every week, we bring a new perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Micheal Pope.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in the world, listening in through this podcast or Facebook Live at Life is a Sacred Journey. I am so excited to come to you again. I now get how cool it is to be a journalist, because I actually have jeans on, but I have this cool little outfit thingy going on at the top. So I love that. So I want to, first of all, take a moment, because I think it's important. And those of you who know me well know that my spiritual life and my life with my church and the California Nevada Conference is very important to me. And as lay leader, conference lay leader, I want to lift up, first of all, that this is Good Friday. And many people are living with grief, are living, trying to figure out what to do during COVID-19. This is just a really stressful time. Coming into my office today, I realize how many people are not out and about living in the world. It took me 20 minutes to drive to work this morning. I live out in the Concord area, and to get to Berkeley. So our world has changed, and I believe it's changed forever. I think that this pandemic is going to change us forever. And so there's some things we're going to learn from it, and some things that are going to make us different. I pray that we will be transformed. I hope that we will use this time to go deep within ourselves and to reflect. I'm trying to get into my good position, because those of you that also know me know that I have sciatic problems, so sitting can be a little crazy for me. But anyway, happy Good Friday. It is not a day to be happy. It is a day to be reflective of the sacrifice that this day reminds us of. But I want you to know that, you are all blessed. Those folks out there that are listening to this that are non-believers, who got turned away from a faith because of something that happened in their lives, or the faith was never lifted up to them. I want you to know, no matter what, we are all loved by a divine power. And so today I just want to take that moment to lift that up, because that's who I am, and I can't do anything else but share who I am with you. Well, this format is different, so we moved to 30 minutes where our podcast used to be an hour. So we're only doing it for 30 minutes. And so I am so excited today that Carolyn Brent, who is a dear friend of mine, and just an incredible woman, human being, spiritual. I mean, she is my sister friend. And she'll tell you a little bit more how we met, because I like it when she tells the story about how we met. I won't share that. But let me just tell you a little bit about Carolyn Brent. So Carolyn Brent is an American author, advocate. She also is a bodybuilder. Okay, that when she moved away from the Bay Area to Florida and became a bodybuilder, that was a part of her that I didn't even know that little mustard seed was growing inside of her. But she became a bodybuilder and has won many awards at that. But more importantly, she became a bodybuilder because of health and learning how to use the gift of our bodies and the restoration that our bodies have in order to get rid of stress. She was also a caregiver for her dear father, who was a pastor, and she's written books about this incredible journey that she was on as an advocate and as a caregiver. She's also so remarkably intelligent in the way where I want to call it spiritual intelligence, that she and I now have known each other for like 12 years, like maybe even more. I'm not sure. I can't remember now. But we connect all the time. And it's not by phone. It's not usually even texting, but whenever I need her, I just pick up the phone and I say, help, Carolyn. And so I'm looking over here because, I got to make her mic live before you can hear her. But I want to welcome you to Life is a Sacred Journey. We are so thankful for the opportunity to be here with you today. I want to thank all of you that are my friends and family that constantly support me. Please share this podcast with other folks so that they can get this information, because everything that we're sharing is for folks that are sheltering in place, not just the caregivers, but also to help caregivers and other folks, because I think our message is universal. So Carolyn, Brent, welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey. You are one of the reasons that Life is a Sacred Journey exists. And so I want to welcome you today. So good morning.
Michelle, good morning, and thank you for having me as a guest on your show.
Well, I just couldn't imagine. Us not getting together during this time, because you have been such a spiritual inspiration to me. And so I just couldn't imagine not sharing, during this time of COVID-19, during this time when people have to shelter in place, how they can help themselves through self-care, not beating people up from where they are, but helping them to, have faith and hope and love throughout this experience. And I just felt like your story is all of that. So I welcome you. Thank you for taking time out of your morning. I know in Florida it's like 11 o'clock already. And so thank you for that. And let's just get started and be in dialogue like we would be if we were together. So you have a story. You became a caregiver, and then after that caregiving odyssey, you had to go into advocacy mode, and then from there, you just figured out what your mission, vision, and purpose was or is, and you went into this trajectory of self-care, self-help, and putting it in books. So can you kind of share your story with us and really emphasize, why this became such an important mission for you?
Michelle, it became an important mission for me because I was one of those caregivers. There's hundreds and thousands of caregivers out there, and you don't have to wear, you work in the medical profession. We are all caregivers. Every person on the planet's a caregiver. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say that, little kids, they play with dolls or G.I. Joes or whatever the kids play with. They're caring for something, or an animal or a cat. But once a person become a caregiver for an aging loved one or someone that's sick, and that could be anyone, your life will change forever. And my life changed forever because I tried to do it all. I tried to work a full-time job and take care of my dad, and everything that my father needed, I was there for them. But Michelle, the reason why I not only have the story, when I was a caregiver, I did not do what the doctor instructed me to do when I broke my fifth metatarsal, which is the tiny bone on my right foot. I broke it, and the doctor said, you need to be off for 3 months. And I looked at the doctor like he had lost his mind, because my father's private assistant living payment was $6,200 a month. So I had the doctor to put a cast on my foot, and I went to work with the cast from my knee all the way down to my big toe. For several weeks, I worked with the cast, then a boot, and guess what? To this day, I'm paying for not taking off work, not taking care of me.
Yeah.
So as a result of everything I went through, and the doctors told me, like maybe 6 doctors said, you know what? It's only going to get worse as you grow older, and hopefully, if you put on weight, you're going to be in a wheelchair. And they just had all of these really bad diagnoses for me. And that's when I said, God did not allow me to be a caregiver for me to meet a caregiver. So the Holy Spirit said, Carolyn, you are your own self-care hero or shero.
Yes.
You've got to learn everything you can and become an authority of your life and learn how to take care of you. So that just sparked, not only do I write books about, caregiving and what I went through, and I interviewed like 1,500 other caregivers and their stories, but the key thing is all backed up with science. It's all backed up with Harvard and all these wonderful institutions that have studied caregiving, the effects of caregiving, but I had to take it a step further. I knew if I wanted to not be in that wheelchair, I had to reach Micheal and stretch for something that I thought, okay, this is impossible, but I'm going on stage. Dear God, how do I get on stage? And the Holy Spirit just gave me the strength to not only look for holistic ways to help heal my body, but then also I had to learn, what do I eat to get rid of the gut? And I'm 63 years old. I still have a six-pack. I will show my six-pack next time we get together. But the bottom line is that it's all about changing lifestyle. And once a person makes the commitment, it's all about making that self-commitment and saying, yes, I want to change. Micheal, I got sick and tired of being sick. Tired. Being pull up from the flow up. I said, I've got to change this. And that changed my life forever. And it's still changing my life because every morsel of food I put in my mouth, I ask myself, how is this going to benefit me? When I exercise, and caregivers out there or just anybody out there, if you have an injury or multiple injuries, you got to work around your injuries. There's plenty of things to do to work around your injuries, including if you're in a wheelchair and you can't move anything except for your fingers. I interviewed a person that's in a wheelchair. He could only move his fingers, and he exercises. And I said, how do you exercise in a wheelchair? He has a wheelchair that helps him to do that.
Yes.
In a swimming pool where his body can float. There's lots of ways. So there's really no excuse. Regardless of age or regardless of what your ability, I say work around your abilities. I don't call it disability, I call it ability.
Yes.
Because once you claim it as an ability, you're going to figure out a way and ask God for help. God is still helping me. I'm doing so many things right now, Sandra. God,
I know.
Just put people in your life that will help you. And going on stage, if you're being judged, in my case, I put myself in a situation to be judged by 20 national bodybuilding competition. And I said, I'm ready for it because the only person I had to be responsible to, Micheal, was myself.
That's right.
The competition is for yourself. It's not for no one else. So I want to be healthy. And Micheal, I'm looking at you right now. You're absolutely drop dead gorgeous and beautiful. I see you online.
Well, Carolyn, this is something that is resonating with me, and I want to say hi to Sandy and Joanne and Gail. I see you out there. I'm waving to you and everyone that is joining us this morning. But this is important because when I pulled or whatever happened to my sciatic nerve that now I continue to have sort of this little bit of pain that goes on. But the reality is right away, the doctor wanted to put me on all these pain meds and And for a moment, I did do that, but a very brief moment because the medications made me so loopy and made me feel sick to my stomach. And then I began to get back into my yoga, get back into my stretching. And yes, because of where the discs are damaged and blah, 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 There will always be a little something, something. But it's not enough that I can't be sitting in my yoga position right now, sitting in my chair. It's not enough that I can't do certain things. I'll never run the way that I ran before, 10, 15 years ago, but I'm sure walking. And so all of those transitions as we age, we just have to transition and figure out how to be flexible with that transition. I stopped eating meat. I have nothing against meat. Somebody put something on Facebook last night where they had liver and onions. Oh my gosh, I used to eat liver and onions. I love liver and onions, but I got to a certain age where my metabolism changed and processing meat fat, the fat of meat became a lot more difficult for me, and so it's not trying to look, though, Carolyn. This is the thing I want to say to everybody. You are uniquely made. I'm using some biblical language here, so I'm not trying to offend those who don't believe in the Bible, but you are uniquely made. We are all uniquely made. And so at the end of the day, whatever your perfection is your perfection. And my perfection is something totally different. So what I do is uniquely for me, and what you do is uniquely for you. So like I fast. I fast at least 3 times a week, where that means I go a full 24 hours without eating. I do have a green juice and a beet juice, and I am drinking water and taking vitamins and all of that good stuff, but I'm not eating a bulky meal. All right. Some people can't fast. They have diabetes. They have other things going on, but there are other things that you can do. And when you're a caregiver or you're a person living under the stress of COVID-19, this is a very stressful time, Carolyn. People are committing suicide. I want to tell people out there that if you're living in a home right now where you're feeling in danger because someone might be, in all of this, they're beating up on you or abusing you. Find a way to get to a phone. One of my dear friends, Talita, put on her Facebook, and I'll try to find it before we end, but she's like, call me, talk about something. She gave the person something to talk about, and that way she would know that they needed help. And so reach out for help. You do not need to isolate in place in an abusive situation. So, you can see this is a passion for me. I do not believe that anybody was created to be abused. Children, women, men, anybody. So if you're in a situation where your loved one can't take this isolation and sheltering in place under COVID-19 and they're taking it out on you, get some help. Reach out. If you need to reach out to me somehow, I'll call the police. I'll call 911. I'll do whatever I can to help you. Let's not let COVID-19 bring out the worst in our humanity. So that's just my little soapbox, because that really bothers me. And it was something that Talita put on Facebook this morning, and I read it. And thank you, Talita, for remembering all those people who are sheltering in place and possibly sheltering in place in fear. Not just fear of COVID-19, but fear of their loved one. So those are the kinds of things that Life is a Sacred Journey is about. We're about caregiving. We're about self-care. We're about learning from each other. We're about supporting each other. And the only way we can do that is if we speak up and let people know we need help. I'm one of those people that doesn't know how to do that. Sandy, my girlfriend Sandy is there, so she knows this about me very well. I don't know how to do that. But I've learned in my growing that reaching out and getting help is so important. And Carolyn, I know when I read your caregiver story, Grandpa's Dream, there's a lot of that that resonates with you when you talk about how your father and caring for your father the situation that got you into advocacy, your family situation that got you into advocacy, but you turned that around. You felt a lot of pain, and you were in an abusive family, not meaning a husband, but an abusive family, sort of toxic relationship. And Caregiver's story and Grandpa's dream speaks to that. Will you share, what was your point where you said, time out. I'm going to turn this into something good, not only for myself, but for the rest of the world?
Well, Micheal, thank you. What really sparked me to become an advocate was when my sister, she had drugged me through 3 jurisdictions with the same false allegations, one court after the other court after the other court. We're talking about Contra Costa, San Joaquin, and Alameda County. And the last judge, when my sister dropped the charges, I wanted the judge to take a look at my case, please, because this is called vexatious litigation. Someone lying on you just to get the it was all about finances.
Normally is.
She told me that I'm going to put you in jail if you say anything else in my court. That changed my life. And then about a month later, I met this lady by the name of Micheal Pope up in Sacramento. She was on doing her testimony. And Micheal, you touched my life when I heard you and your passion about Alzheimer's and caregiving, that everything you reached out for. That was when I said, I've got to, who is this lady? And what she did, that courthouse was full of people. And when I saw Micheal, she grabbed her purse and she walked out. I thought I was going to break my neck running after because I needed help. I said, I've got to know who this lady is. And Micheal was on her way to the ladies' room. I stopped her in the hall. I said, Kim, please, I'm not crazy. Can you talk to me? This is what happened to me. Can you help me? And Micheal, my life changed forever because I reached out for help. And that's when I knew that I had to do what you're doing, because you've always been an advocate. And I said, when I grow up, I'm going to be like Micheal Pope. And what can I say? I have mimicked you. I go up to legislation every year.
Yes, you do.
I keep writing books. I keep writing books telling my story because, Micheal, you opened up the door. You told me, come on in. I will help you. I even followed you to the ladies' room.
You did. You did follow me to the ladies' room while you were telling me you weren't crazy. So, but you know what? We have, our half hour is almost up, but we have had, I'm going to tell this story. So I think it's 2 years ago, I was on my way to Nashville for a Methodist meeting, because that's where our conference or our offices are. And I was walking. I always do Southwest Airlines. Shout out to my Southwest Airlines friends and buddies. And I was walking, with my bad self, and focus with my sunglasses on early in the morning. And I look up and I look at this woman and I go, that looks like Carolyn. Wait a minute. No, Micheal, Carolyn lives in Florida. There is no way that's Carolyn. Okay. And finally, I look at her again, and she looks at me, and we were like, oh my gosh, it was like sorority sisters. Everybody's looking at us, but thank God we don't care. And then we had enough time because we both are the same way. We get to the airport really early, so we had enough time, and we had breakfast together, and so I just feel like our relationship and our ability to live out our mission, vision, and purpose is ordained by a higher power, but I also believe that the synergies of what we're trying to do mandate that we have to come together and work together. So, yeah. Carolyn, I just want to thank you, one, for lifting me up in that way. I am humbled by that. But I want you to tell everybody how they can access your books, because we're going to run out of time, and I want people to learn more about your piece of education and how you're working with caregivers and the books that you have. So how can they access your words of wisdom?
Well, the key thing is easy. They could go online to any library that's close to their home, just literally online, and they could just put Carolyn A. Brent, and my books will populate. If it's not there, they could still order it online through their local library through this quarantine time, or they could purchase any of my books on Amazon. And now, Michelle, I have 10 books. Can you believe it?
I know.
I'm going to continue to write forever and ever because I have so much to say.
I know. And then, and you also have another adventure coming out that you're working on behind the scenes that people will get to know you more intimately as well. Is that something that you want to share with everybody now?
Yeah, I may as well open up the gates. A movie deal, and Michelle, you're going to be in it, and I'm going to have you to play the role of Michelle with me running down the hallway. That's my turn. It's going to let people know I needed help, and I reached out for help. And Michelle, thank you for taking the time and helping me way back then, because just having one person to believe in you, it's just so much.
It means so much.
So thank you, Michelle.
Well, Carolyn, I think this has been, again, our lives have been a labor of love. Once we learned that we were loved and that we only had to be loved to the rest of the world, all of the obstacles, whether it being a woman of color, caregiver, stepdaughter, whatever the situation was in life that brought, some pitfalls for us, we were able to rise above them because we do believe in a higher power. And so I want to thank you for your just tenacity in making sure that every caregiver knows about finances, knows about emotional, knows about medical. The one great advice that you shared with me, and I always share with other people, get a spiral notebook. Keep your medical conversations and thoughts and questions in your medical spiral notebook, so that you have a baseline that you can share with your medical professionals as you navigate and partner with your physician or your care team. So as we end this podcast today on Good Friday and our Facebook Live, thank you, Felicia, the producer, for demanding that I do this, even though she knows I hate it. Because I'm like, I have to put my lipstick on. But Carolyn, I want to thank you, because every time I've ever called you and said, will you be a keynote at one of my events? Will you do this? Will you do that? You've been a board member for Alzheimer's Services of the East Bay. I just want to thank you so much for everything that you have done and for your support. So stay on the line as I end up in this 1 minute time. So family, friends, Carolyn, all of you that are out there sheltering in place, take time today to be grateful. Take time today, regardless of what you believe in, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Buddhist, whether you're an atheist, no matter what you believe. Take time to be grateful. Take time to be non-judgmental. Take time to to look at your life and know that it is a sacred journey. Know that your life is not only valued by the house that you live in, but it's more valued by the people that you know, the people who love you, the people who you love. That's what gives you value. It is not all these other things. And so on this Good Friday, I say peace be with you and God bless you and be not afraid. No danger. Wear your mask. Have your hand sanitizers, whatever they may look like. But be grateful nonetheless. And remember, we're all in this together. And I am your host, Micheal Pope at Life is a Sacred Journey. Be well until we're together again. And peace. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend. And I will talk to you shortly offline.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.